The superhero genre is one that has been well and truly milked. Every conceivable tit has been sucked dry by the studios of DC, Marvel, Image Comics, Boom Studios, Dark Horse, you name it. There are so many superheroes to choose from, and yet there is still one path that hasn't been taken, and that is the one where you give the bully. Yes, the fully fledged bully, the one that will shove you into lockers, steal your homework, has the good old cliche father abandonment issues, and lives in a trailer park. Yeah, that guy gets superpowers. Say what?
Inconceivable!
No. Very much conceivable. And like, you just don't see that. When it comes to DC, Marvel, or any other sort of comic book company, you never really get this kind of a story. It's such a unique perspective, and one that I truly wanted to understand more about. You see so many stories about the Boy Scouts, or the broken anti-hero, or the communities that get rejected by society but still rise up into becoming their own superheroes. And while the bully character will very much lean into the anti-hero, even in the anti-hero comic book community, you don't really see the bully getting the powers in that world. The genre of superhero storytelling is a way to teach that it's okay to be different. That in fact that it's celebrated to be different, because then in your own way you can add value to the world around you like no one else can. Even stories like My Adventure with Superman tell the story of what it's like to be the most beloved character and still feel alienated and isolated in this world. In fact, that it probably makes a bigger divide because of how beloved you are, because of how celebrated you are, and because of how much power you have. Despite how much the world around you actually loves you, there are still people who disregard you and hate you for who you are.
Superman's no hero. He's the end of the world. Just him having a bad day could spell the end for us. Can you really say we're safer with him overhead?
But what happens when you flip that perspective, when you give the person who does the breaking, who causes the pain and suffering in your life, and who makes you feel like an outcast? What happens when you give that person superpowers? We never stop to consider what their stories are and how they too can rise to become... Oh, wait, no, hold on. Yeah, that's much better. Rogue Son tells the tale of Dylan Michael Siegel, who inherits his father's mantle, the Sunstone, and rises to become the Rogue Son. Set in the massive universe, it being created by Ryan Parrott and Image Comics, and never thought I would care so much about a bully, but here I am, even a fictitious one. And don't get me wrong, his life is a walking cliche. Even the books can't really manage to avoid how stereotypical that this kid's life really is. But is one that gets a lot of depth because of how well executed and explored it is between Dylan and the relationships in his life. It explores the relationship he has with his mum, who is literally the only person that is supporting him and believes in him to do better with his life. You see how having a father that not only abandoned him as a child, but went on to have a second family and be a good father to that other family while still completely ignoring Dylan and his mum, it would end up creating a sort of bitter resentment that manifests in unhealthy ways kind of attitude and approach to life. Oh, and yeah, Dylan's poor while the second family are like super rich, like Batman crazy level rich, which of course only creates a further divide between Dylan and this other family. Then with Dylan inheriting his father's mantle and becoming the Rogue Son, you begin to see this other family turn bitter and resentful towards Dylan, meaning that there are just more people in his life that hate him for his existence. Oh, and I should also add at this point that his father's soul is trapped in this sunstone, the very object that gives Dylan his powers. And so whenever Dylan adorns his armor and becomes the Rogue Son, that his father is there giving him life lessons and trying to teach him how to use the sunstone. Oh, and he also needs Dylan's help in solving who murdered him. So you give the bully powers, you make him hate and resent everything about it, including the way in which he got it. You then make everyone around him also hate and resent the fact that he has it. Then you make it so that the only way for you to learn how to use these powers is by listening to the one person that caused all of the pain and suffering and heartbreak in your life. And just the cherry on top, you make sure that that person needs your help in solving their murder. Yeah, I'm in. Throughout the first 3 volumes of this ongoing series, you begin to see how Dylan appreciates what it means to be a hero, how he impacts the world around him, both as Rogue Son and as Dylan. And at its core, it's a story about what it means to be able to move on from such heavy issues in your life and such heavy conflict, and to truly start to heal and to become the better person that everyone is able to be. And so despite being unable to get away from the one person that has caused all that suffering and who's constantly reminding you on almost every time that you try to be a better person that you truly are worthless, you see Dylan starting to grow and mature into realize that seeking an apology that will never come is not how you move past this trauma. That holding on to the bitterness and resentment that this person has created in your life will never lead to anything good or healthy. And at its core, it's a story about how the issues in your life have stemmed from generations of family trauma that has been passed down from one person to the next. You watch his father go from a cold, calculated person into somebody who actually begins to wrestle with his own demons, even though he's technically dead. And I think the reason at the end of it all is why I sympathize so much with Dylan and so much about him is that even somebody like him, somebody who causes the pain and causes the suffering and causes the heartbreak, who will shove you into lockers, who will steal your homework and just be the classic bully, even that person can still be an outcast, can still be hated and secluded by being who he was. And realizing that and understanding that, you can turn your life around and you can become the better person that everyone wants you to be. I think Rogue Son has a lot of potential for being one of the best superhero stories that are coming out of the indie comic book scene. While it does feel a little generic at times and it does feel like there are some very predictable plot points, overall it is the relationships and how the conflict manifests between Dylan and everyone in his life that truly make this story stand out and shine as an exceptionally great quality of storytelling. And to me, will definitely deserve its place as one of the best superhero stories that I have ever read in the modern age. And I'm sure you're going to have an incredible time with this story, as I have. Alright, peace!